The neon sign of the corner convenience store flickered, buzzing faintly against the wet Manchester street. Rain fell in a relentless drizzle, scattering across puddles like fractured mirrors. Inside, Lila Morgan, 22, wiped the counter for the 100th time that evening. Her apron smelled faintly of citrus cleaner and stale coffee, and her worn shoes squelched against the linoleum floor, holes at the toes letting in the cold. The door chimed. Lila glanced up. A young man in a dark hoodie stepped in, dripping from the rain. His eyes darted around nervously. She forced a polite smile. "Closing soon," she said, holding up a finger to the clock. He smirked. "Yeah, I know." He lingered, shuffling awkwardly by the shelves. Then came two more figures, taller, faces partially shadowed by hoodies. Their presence carried a low, menacing energy. Lila's stomach tightened. She straightened the last row of chips, trying to appear calm. "Don't ignore us," one said, tapping a soda can off the shelf. It rolled to the floor with a metallic clang. The others laughed. "I think it's time to leave," Lila said, her voice soft but steady. "You're closing early on us?" The tallest one asked, leaning against the counter. Not very polite. Her hands trembled slightly as she rearranged the cans. Her pulse raced. The small bell above the door jingled again. Another pedestrian? A random passerby glanced in but didn't notice the tension. A subtle shuffle outside caught her attention. Footsteps in the puddles, heavier than normal. She glimpsed motorcycle headlights glinting through the rain, parked just across the street. A flicker of hope stirred in her chest. "You brought friends?" The tallest harasser muttered, noticing the lights. Before she could respond, the door swung open. Three bikers stepped inside, their presence calm, commanding, yet not aggressive. One spoke. "Wrong place, mate. Step back." The harassers froze. Confusion flickered across their faces. Lila gripped the counter, barely breathing. The bikers' quiet authority made the intruders rethink their intimidation. A tense second stretched into eternity before the harassers muttered under their breath and exited into the rain. One biker placed a hand gently on Lila's shoulder. "You're safe now," he said. She exhaled, relief washing over her. The fluorescent lights seemed brighter, the rain softer. She realized that even in fear, someone had her back. The night stretched quietly after the bikers left. Lila stayed behind the counter, counting loose coins, the metallic jingle echoing in the empty store. Her manager called later. "Bikers? Really? You're lucky, Lila," he said, half laughing. "That could have gone very differently." She hung up, staring at the lock. Her fear transformed into a strange sense of clarity. She had faced danger, and help had arrived unexpectedly. Word spread quickly. Regular customers approached the store, concern etched into their faces. Mrs. Cartwright, a middle-aged woman, placed a hand on Lila's arm. "I heard what happened," she said. "You were brave." I didn't do anything," Lila whispered. "They just left." The woman smiled. "Bravery isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in staying calm when fear surrounds you." A week later, Lila noticed one of the bikers waiting outside. He handed her a folded envelope. Inside was a note. "You handled yourself with grace. Courage is quiet. If you ever need guidance, we're around." She smiled, folding it carefully. It was a reminder that help sometimes came from unexpected places. Later that week, she realized something. The customers who had been there that night, who had watched silently, now greeted her differently. Their subtle nods and smiles said more than words ever could. She understood she wasn't invisible, not really. Courage and humanity had allies. Weeks passed. Lila continued her evening shifts. She noticed small changes. The way customers greeted her, the steadiness in her steps, the quiet confidence growing inside her. One evening, a young girl lingered outside, shivering in the drizzle. Lila stepped forward, wrapping her scarf around the child's shoulders. "Come inside and warm up," she said gently. The girl's eyes widened, and a faint smile appeared. Months later, Lila began volunteering with a local neighborhood outreach program, sharing her story, not for attention, but to show that courage, even quiet courage, could ripple outward. The street outside the store had changed. New lights, freshly painted curbs, puddles reflecting golden street lamps. Lila paused, looking at her reflection in a puddle. She smiled. She had survived, learned, and grown. The bikers, the customers, the strangers who appeared, they had all played a part. True courage, she realized, wasn't standing alone. True strength was facing fear with grace and accepting help when it came. The store closed that night under the soft hum of fluorescent lights. Lila stepped outside into the drizzle. The streets seemed calmer, the lights softer. She had learned to stand, and in doing so, she had also learned to trust. Final cinematic image. Lila walking into the rain. Reflective puddles at her feet, streetlights glowing. A faint silhouette of the bikers in the background. Moral: true courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the grace to stand and the wisdom to accept help.